Hi, my name is Melisa Dunham. Today I'm going to be talking about the theory of psychosocial development, which was developed by Erikson. So a little bit about Erikson. He was born in 1902 in Germany. When he was 25, he tutored art at a school in Vienna where Sigmund Freud's daughter Anna encouraged him to study psychoanalysis. She was there analyzing some of the wealthier students. He took her advice and graduated from Vienna Psychoanalytic Institute in 1933, where he focused on child development. When Hitler rose to power, him and his family fled to America and became citizens. He is credited as being the originator of ego psychology. So a little background on the theory of psychosocial development. It was influenced by Freud. Erikson emphasized the role of culture and society and the conflicts that can take place within the ego itself. It's a descriptive overview of the social and emotional development, but doesn't explain how or why the development occurs. And it's a lifespan model of development, which means the development occurs obviously throughout the lifespan. There's 8 stages, 5 stages through 18 years of age, and then 3 stages that span the adulthood. The theory of psychosocial development, again, Erik assumes that a crisis occurs at each stage of development, which would be trust versus mistrust or intimacy versus isolation, which we'll discuss later on. These crises are of a psychosocial nature because they involve psychological needs of the individual conflicting with the needs of society. Successful completion of each stage will result in a healthy personality and the acquisition of basic virtues, which I will discuss. Failure to successfully complete a stage can result in a reduced ability to complete the further stages and therefore a more unhealthy personality and sense of self. But just because success doesn't occur at one stage doesn't mean that you can't achieve success later on in your life in that stage. There are 3 key components to Erikson's theory: the ego identity, ego strength, and conflict, which are discussed there. And Erik said that personality develops in a predetermined order and builds upon each stage. So that's the epigenic principle. So this is just a little chart with the 8 different stages: the crisis, the basic virtue that is obtained, hopefully, and then the age. So stage 1, basic virtue is hope. The age is infancy, which is newborn to 18 months or a year and a half. And the big question here is, can I trust the world? A baby spends 9 months inside of their mother's womb. It's dark, it's warm, it's comfortable, it's safe. And now all of a sudden they are in this cold world where they don't know anything. They're very uncertain about it. So in order to resolve those feelings, the infant will look at her primary caregiver, which is typically a mother, for stability and care. If the care that she receives is consistent, reliable, safe, she'll develop a sense of trust and feel secure even when threatened. If the care is inconsistent, harsh, unreliable, unsafe, the infant will develop a sense of mistrust and not have confidence in the world around her. The infant will carry either this trust or mistrust to relationships later on in life, and this trust or mistrust can affect the later stages also. So I was reading an article a while back, and it was written by a missionary who was in Africa and was visiting a Christian orphanage or Catholic orphanage, and she said it was just this huge room, and there were just cribs just lining the walls. There's nothing but cribs with just very little space for a person to, be able to get to and from the crib. And she said it was eerily silent in there. And she said that she asked one of the nuns, why don't I hear any crying? Why aren't these babies crying? They're in an orphanage. Shouldn't they be crying? And the nun said, well, when they come to us, they cry nonstop for the first, few weeks. And then once they realize that nobody is coming for them, they just stop crying. And I just, that has always stuck with me and had an effect on me. And I can imagine that some of those children later on down the life will have some serious trust issues and, abandonment issues. So stage 2, this is autonomy versus shame and doubt. The basic virtue is will. The age is early childhood, 18 months to 3 years. And the big question here is, can I do things myself, or do I need to rely on others? At this age in a child's life, they are gaining some independence, but parental support is still vital. The parent should allow the gain of child independence while also not criticizing for failures and accidents. For example, potty training. You don't want your child in diapers, until they're 18 years old, but, so you need to, teach them the potty training, but you also need to not criticize them for their failures or their accidents. There's going to be accidents. There's going to be failures. Another thing is dressing themselves. You're going to have to guide them with that, but also let them have some independence. So if a child's independence is encouraged, he will be able to be more confident and more secure and make decisions on his own. If the child isn't given the chance to do that and to assert himself, he will lack self-esteem and feel a sense of doubt in his abilities. And that lack of self-esteem can follow him the rest of his life. So stage 3, initiative versus guilt. The basic virtue here is purpose. The age is play age, which is 3 to 5 years. And the big question here is it okay for me to do things? At this stage in childhood, the child has, play dates. They're initiating activities with others, as well as beginning to ask questions. Their little brains are growing. If given these opportunities, opportunities to play with others and, have some imagination and ask questions, the child will develop a sense of initiative and feel secure in their ability to make decisions. If those opportunities are squashed, the child will develop a sense of guilt and it may inhibit this creativity. So, some guilt, of course, is necessary because you want the child to know self-control and to have a conscience. So maybe, for all your parents out there, you might want to have your kid ask only 900 questions instead of 1,000 questions in a day. So you want a healthy balance between initiative and guilt, and that will lead to the virtue of purpose. So the 4th stage is industry versus inferiority. The basic virtue here is competency, and this is a school age 5 to 12 years of age. So during this stage in childhood, the child feels the need to win approval by demonstrating specific competencies that are valued by society. Writing, basic math. So the child also begins to develop a sense of pride in their accomplishments. Mom, Dad, look at my math. Look what I've learned today. Look at this, 3 sentences, 4 sentences that I wrote. Look how great this is. If the child is encouraged, he'll begin to feel industrious and confident in his ability to achieve his goals. And if he's restricted by parents and hopefully not, but, restricted by teachers as well, the child begins to feel inferior and will doubt his ability. This stage, you want maybe a little bit of failure, so the child can develop some modesty. But this is this stage where you really want your child, to blossom and to bloom and to make them feel pride in their accomplishments. Stage 5, identity versus role confusion. The basic virtue here is fidelity. The age is adolescent, so that's 12 to 18 years of age. And this is perhaps the most important stage of the 8 stages. The question here that we're asking is, who am I? Where do I fit in society? The child is learning the roles that he'll occupy as an adult, and there's 2 identities, sexual and occupational. So, you have puberty occurring during this age. The adolescent may feel uncomfortable about her body. His and her hormones are changing. Their body image is changing. It's a tough and awkward time for kids. The child is learning the roles that she'll occupy as an adult. Do I want to be, something in the medical field? Do I want to be a teacher? Do I want to be, nothing? Do I want to be, a stay-at-home mother when I get older? What do I want to be? Who am I? Stage 5, some more on stage 5. During this stage, this is as one explores the possibilities and begins to form her new identity based upon those explorations. Failure to establish a sense of identity within society can lead to role confusion, which can make the individual not sure about where he or she fits in society. In response to that role confusion, one may begin to experiment with different lifestyles. When I think about this stage, I think about a kid on the very first day of school, say, freshman year, and he's just got his lunch tray and he's in the cafeteria and he's just standing there looking around, deciding where to sit. Who do I sit with? Do I want to sit with the jocks? Do I want to sit with, the surfer crowd? Do I want to sit with, the band geeks? Who do I want to sit with? That's the first thing that comes to mind with this. And again, you don't want that role confusion, and that has to do with, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I don't know. And, the older you get, closer to graduating high school and 18 years of age and moving forward, you want to have that question answered. So stage 6, intimacy versus isolation. So the basic virtue here is love. The age is young adulthood, which is 18 to 40 years. So according to Erikson, when I'm 39, I'll still be a young adult, which makes me very happy. But the big question here is, can I love and be loved? So this is when we start to share ourselves more intimately with others, which will lead to comfortable relationships, a sense of commitment, safety, and care in a relationship. So avoiding intimacy and fearing relationships, maybe from mistrust. If you can't trust anyone, you're going to have a hard time having a healthy, successful relationship, which that mistrust goes right back to, stage 1. That can lead to isolation, loneliness, and even some depression. And if someone lacks self-esteem, which is going back to that second stage, they might have a hard time out in the dating scene and trying to commit themselves to someone. So again, stage 6 is, can I love and be loved? Stage 7, generativity versus stagnation. So the basic virtue here is care. The age is adulthood, which is 40 to 65 years. The big question here is, what can I contribute to the world? So according to Erikson, this is when you would establish a career, settle down in a relationship, begin families, which many people, do that before the age of 40. But according to Erikson, that's when this typically happens. We give back to society by raising our children. Hopefully they are productive children. We are productive at work, especially us being educators, and we are becoming involved in the community. We want to be part of the bigger picture, part of that community in a positive way. Failing to achieve these objectives can make one feel stagnant and unproductive. Stage 8, ego, integrity versus despair. So this is the last stage. The basic virtue here is wisdom. The age is maturity, which is 65 years and up. The big question here is, was my life a good one? Am I proud of the life I lived? During this time, one contemplates her accomplishments and develops integrity if she sees herself leading a successful life. If she sees herself as unproductive or feels guilty about her past, she can become dissatisfied with life and even become depressed. So, building back on those previous 8 steps. Maybe she had some trust issues and, some self-esteem issues, which led to her not, knowing where she fit in with society with that, that 5th step, and then going into that 6th step, with the mistrust issues and the self-esteem, she didn't get into a healthy relationship and she was lonely, and she felt, she didn't contribute to the world maybe in that 7th step. So this kind of ties all those steps back together. So Erikson says that the basic virtue in this step is wisdom. And he says that wisdom allows a person to look back on their life with a sense of closure and accept death without fear. Yes, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to pass on, and I'm happy with, what I've done. So that's what stage 8 is all about. So basically, in summary, Erikson's theory of psychosocial development is a lifespan model of development, and I just discussed how those 8 stages go from newborn, literally the moment you were born with that care, all the way up until one passes away. It's broken down into 8 different stages, with the heaviest emphasis on the adolescent. Those ages 12 to 18 years of age is, extremely important in one's life. He was greatly influenced by Freud. He was even, encouraged to, to go into this career field by his daughter. The success or failure of one stage is not permanent, and it can be modified by later experiences. So those trust issues or the self-esteem issues, you can work on those and, correct those later on down the road. So some discussion questions. How does Erikson's theory differ from Freud's? They're similar, but they focus on a little bit different things. What is the central theme of Erikson's theory? Do you think that these stages occur differently for men and women? Or is it just blanket? Nope, they occur for everybody. Men and women, think differently, they develop differently, and at different rates. So do you think that these stages occur differently as well? And reflecting back, are there any stages that you had difficulties with? Perhaps, ego identity versus role confusion, which is that 5th stage, that adolescent stage, were you maybe that student standing in the middle of the cafeteria, not knowing where to sit? Maybe some autonomy versus shame back in that 2nd stage, which, 1 to 3 years of age, people don't even remember, but maybe, some self-esteem issues came back and there. Or, hopefully you went through all the stages and, not all the stages, obviously, because, the last one ends in death, but, hopefully you're working through the stages, and moving forward and attaining those, basic virtues. So I thank you guys for watching my presentation and listening to me, and I look forward to questions and feedback. And these are my references. Thank you.